to the Gold Club World Championship. Gilly, Dreadnought, and Dreadtie here to bring you Game 3 between Dignitas and Ballistics. 1-1 in the series so far. Game 1, about kind of what we expected. Team Dignitas did do what we were hoping to see versus a Korean team on Dragonshire. But Game 2, less so on Sky Temple. Some slower rotations from Ballistics, and maybe it was just that Team Dignitas really caught them off guard with theirs.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Like, the results-wise, I would say they're a little bit backwards than what you would have expected, but Game 1 performance-wise, a lot closer than what we would have assumed out of both teams. Whereas in Game 2, Ballistics showed signs of struggle, but we'll see what happens when it comes to the map order here. Ballistics opting for first pick after that last game, and that is Team Dignitas taking us over to Infernal Shrines.
Common pick for them. They lost versus KSV, but otherwise have been pretty dominant on Infernal Shrines throughout the Gold Club World Championship. Even in league play, 4-1 on Infernal Shrines. But Ballistics is no stranger to the Shrines.
Yeah, especially when your, #1 counterpart within your own region is so very good at the map, like KSV Black has been for some long time. ETC banned out. Not surprising. He is, I think, almost banned almost every single game so far, or near every single game. He has made it through a couple of these drafts into the knockout stage, and Dignitas still sticking to the Tassadar removal. We aren't going to see a Point Task Tracer composition in this game, but it is Infernal Shrines, not as common as a strategy.
I wonder if Ballistics are going to stick with this first pick every time they lose because of the Tassadar conundrum for them. The Task Genji, because Genji is now up. This could be a possibility for Ballistics. Other ideas, Greymane, very good. Spike in power on Infernal Shrines because he gives more of the shrine control.
I would assume it to be a Greymane because he does accent the map. He accents the counter strategy, which is, the split pushing and objectively that powerful, with the drop and things like the Rhaegar. But the hesitation there for Ballistics made me go, what else, are they going to be looking at? Seems like they're just going to confirm what we have seen so far. Go ahead with the Greymane.
Tyrael is available. Team Dignitas has not played him yet in this series. It's all been high priority from Ballistics. So not quite like their counterparts with Fnatic. Fnatic was really prioritizing him quite highly in their series versus KSV. Lucio's still up 2.
Arthas is something that we talked about in a couple of the other series. He was lower priority, so I don't want to say it and kind of, jinx it because I feel like he might not show up. But we saw him responsive to the Greymane, and this is one of his best maps where he kind of rose back into power before, he kind of got the colossal rework that we saw at some point in time. So, all signs point to a possible Arthas, but it has been not that heavy of a pickup for somebody, or not so much a heavy pickup, but more consistent in terms of his priority. So it is back to the Tyrael. Tyrael is the man.
Yes.
It seems like here of the knockout stage.
We have returned to the meta of Tyrael. And with Genji, too.
A lot of kill potential for Dig. I mean, it's very apparent that their focus has got to be bringing the skirmishes to Ballistics. Greymane is a generic enough pick, though. By no means does that commit them in any direction. They can decide if they want to focus onto their shrine control a little bit higher here. Dignitas hasn't really shown anything in towards of how they have to commit to the map either in their play style.
I would assume a Lucio here for Ballistics. It seemed like it was Magi's favored support. He played it 8 games of their 14 in the group stage. Tends to be their favored secondary or first support for them, whereas Dignitas had adjusted over to more of the Karzim play. Do they still feel that way after the support changes, though? That's the major question we'll be asking for a lot of teams. And Nubarak and Lucio.
This is my jam.
It's a little bit higher on that Nubarak than I feel like we've seen so far, at least out of that knockout stage. But it will be able to help with not only maybe interrupting the Tyrael sanctification opportunities, but just stopping the momentum of this very offensive team fight that Dignitas has indicated with their 2 picks.
Also, puts Dignitas in a bit of a strange situation because Dig generally likes to ban Abathur here, but that'll leave Stukov open for the Nubarak Stukov play. You've got Greymane burst behind that, try to stop sanctification.
That is an option. My only concern with that would be just because even though it is an opportunity to go into, he is vulnerable still to dive, no matter how much, you know, saving tools and other opportunities that you have within your composition. They have only the Lucio right now as that secondary support, which is not very good at ensuring that the Stukov will survive.
That's true.
Tyrael and Genji have enough independent mobility on their own that if I feel like, you know, they're afraid of that opportunity that for Ballistics, Dignitas can make sure that they're 3-4.
I also forgot it was Ballistics.
Yeah.
Not so much the double support team here. All right, maybe Dig feels more confident than in that Abathur ban, given that they have the dive from Genji, Tyrael, and Ballistics has been playing less secondary supports.
I have no idea where this ban is going to commit, to be honest. I immediately would... I've talked about the Arthisphere, but it has shown such a low value. Looks like Ballistics is changing it here. They're not wanting to deal with that Tyrael Arthas together and the Shrine control that they provide. There's little Shrine control outside of the gray main for Ballistics. There are a couple of picks left that they can go into that would have it. Leoric is going to be dropped again for Dignitas. Not the first time that we've seen them bust that out here on Infernal Shrines. They were willing to do so against Roll20 earlier into the group stage.
Yeah, Wubby's undefeated on Leoric at this event so far, 4-0. And then Li Ming for another patented Team Dignitas double reset at Gold Club World Championship composition. So just waiting on that final support for Xaylia.
Last time they ended up going into the Leo, they were still with that double support, and that's obviously not the case here. They did have that Stukov, though.
They still have the shielding from Tyrael, though, too.
Yeah, that's a good point. You might be able to use that as the, you know, pseudo-support, help aid. And what is the not-so-double supporty meta on this current patch.
Yeah, and Dig also has Li Ming, making Cocoon less of a possibility to stop that solo support for Dignitas. Or even, really, Dragon Blade, Tyrael, just about anything.
Oh my goodness.
He returns.
Zeratul being bust out there for SC. But second one of the tournament from Ballistics, second one of the tournament flat out just in all of the tournament. Very different circumstance. This is not anything like the situation we saw on Dragonshire, in particular to hyper-focus onto the Junkrat mismatch. And now, is this I was going to say, is this expecting? The answer is no, it's not expecting any kind of Junkrat. So what is the focus there for that? It is going to be able to help stop with that double reset, you know, momentum. Yes, you have Tyrael on one side of the table here, but Zeratul has lost so much that I just didn't feel like this would be the situation where he comes back to life here.
Yeah, there's no wombo really off of the VP, so it seems a lot more like momentum based.
Yeah, and it's just, and it's not only again that double reset, but the sanctification kind of trade-off. But what I'm trying to say is I feel like Zeratul has lost so much into the meta overall that no longer do you look at that and go, ooh, but who's going to get which of those? Because the answer is even if Zeratul wins the upper hand in that trade, I feel like he just lost so much innately within his kit, especially with the tools available for Dig, that it's going to be a hard time for Zeratul to have the impact that he has. But I'm assuming it's going to be SC. And SC has, you know, a pretty big backpack that he can throw on sometimes, especially when he is there on the Zeratul.
Man, I just have flashbacks to the first Eastern Clash when we were casting from the HGC studio at like middle of the night, which is basically kind of the same time we're casting right now if you think about it. And just like every draft, Tyrael on one side, Zeratul on the other, we're like, who's going to get the best of that? It is SC's Zeratul the last time he got the win there, but that was versus SPT, and Dignitas, frankly, is a higher caliber opponent. Unless SPT keeps playing the same way they did the first or the second game versus Fnatic.
This is going to be amazing to see how this kind of unfolds. I'm very interested, you know, because, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Gilly, remember the switch we were talking about in the last game that we feel like it just didn't exist there for those members? I can't help but fear that committing to the Zeratul in this circumstance, yes, it is not wild and completely unheard of, again, because we know the history of the trade-off between the Tyrael and whatnot. But I am suddenly going, is this it? Is this where we see the mental struggle of Ballistics now that they are going into those kind of, I'm going to say, Tier 3 heroes? You just saw SC on the screen, not necessarily flaunting confidence, even after having such a what I would consider boastful pick.
Yeah, the man with the backpack.
Shrinking.
Was fidgeting a little. Nervous versus Team Dignitas. Can Ballistics pull ahead on Infernal Shrines? Team Dignitas' choice. Dignitas with a very comfortable draft for them. They didn't go into their Karzim, but behind that, the favored secondary support for Dignitas by the end of the group stage generally was Uther. And we feel like
he's only gotten better.
He's only gotten better. The utility, his armor was untouched, although his damage, his healing numbers, those were brought down. But even still being able to give the same amount of armor.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge.
Divine Shield.
It's huge. Like, the fact that his armor was not touched has been a very huge power spike with Uther compared to the rest of the supports. But here they are. In the blue is going to be Team Dignitas. Keep in mind, this is on Infernal Shrine. Snitch will be playing that Genji. JPO on his Tyrael. Wubby, as always, that offlaner. Repping the Leoric. Poik on Li Ming. Azalea on Uther.
Snitch was very proud of his MVP. We ran into him backstage during the break. He was like, "It's me, MVP Tassadar." Their opponents, Ballistics from Korea. Ballistics have SDE playing Greymane, SC swapping onto that Zeratul, Jungha on his Dahaka, Hooligan playing a new Barak, Magi playing Lucio.
Can't help but feel, knowing SC on that Zeratul, that there's something else amiss here with the synergy of their composition. At second glance, reviewing it, I'm still struggling here, but we'll see how it unfolds as we're ready to get into this game. The double reset of Team Dignitas here with a Leoric side soak, that high Tyrael. So much armor, so much cross support. Invulnerability on top of invulnerability with this draft.
A double reset versus the stopping of momentum, that sound barrier that Void Prison gives. And the Anubarak seems... Hooligan feels like he does have his work cut out for him. He likely will get Cocoon to try to stop the momentum along with the rest of them, but with Li Ming there, she's definitely going to throw a wrench in those plans.
It's a very, very complex isolation comp that Ballistics has. That being said, if they play near flawless, I can see this game like Dignitas doesn't even get a kill, right? Their composition, if they can snowball this game, not only with the ganks that SC might be able to provide, but more importantly, just Void Prison, amazing isolation. The Cocoon we've been talking about, isolation in itself, turns out that's a pretty good isolation spell. There's a lot of amazing things that Dignitas might not even have an answer to if Ballistics does it proper. It's just, we have seen time and time again, and just knowing strategically, you know, having the most forgiving composition almost always is going to be the better one at this level.
Yeah, you really can pick apart an opponent's team fight when you're able to execute with all those things. Things like even isolation from Dahaka. Basically everybody, except maybe Greymane, has the ability to provide that to Ballistics, but what it requires is extreme synergy and communication. You cannot overuse those abilities as things start coming out from Team Dignitas.
SDE maybe caught out a little bit too far. SC was able to reveal himself there, bait out a bit too much damage, but you're right. It takes absolute synergy and communication with this team, and that is something that, though we've talked about the evolution of Ballistics, it feels like it has kind of been missing a little bit in this series in particular. Now, you know that Ballistics is going to be wanting to change that, but they cannot do so until about 10. Their composition doesn't have too much to brag about until those moments, whereas Dignitas, it's not quite the case. A Tyrael, Li Ming, Genji composition, they always want those type of skirmishes. Even, you know, Wubby, though he doesn't have maybe the impact on the game like you would normally expect here, he's still pretty good in the early game. Post 4, the map control he provides, having that 100% bonus damage on that skeletal to swing 2 minions, is really going to help them make sure that they have enough side control and get the experience in the side lanes.
Because Ballistics are so focused on getting heroic abilities, I wonder how this first Shrine phase plays out, because in general, the European teams don't put as much focus at this tournament on the first Shrines. We saw Fnatic do the same thing versus KSV even last series, right? Where they are willing to just try to counter pressure. But Ballistics wanting heroic abilities, I thought maybe Team Dignitas would just go in and contest this more, but still have Leoric who can side soak, have a Genji who can go up and soak when he needs to, and they seem to kind of be doing that. But neither team has really shown too much of a full commitment, although as I say that, Ballistics moves on forward. Burrow charge in, JPL has the Eldruin to teleport out.
There are about 10 skeletal defenders behind here for Team Dignitas. And we talked about the power spike post-10. You see Dig concentrating way more on the minion waves and trying to make sure that Ballistics loses experience. But I feel like that they've gotten so far ahead on the objective that it's not going to matter at this time. Jungha does not connect there with that drag. Dignitas used that window to actually tie themselves up on skeletal defenders. We got ourselves a Punisher race.
And now they pulled Jungha in, so this is a full-on brawl from both of the teams
34-34.
This first shrine. Is so close in skeletal defenders between them. They have Wubby trying to Wraith walk around as SC and Hooligan go forward, knocking up JPL. The Punisher was claimed, and it was claimed by Ballistics.
And you know, even after that death there, on to Wubby giving the first blood to Ballistics, nobody can make that rotation downward, because when you capture that Punisher, you know it's immediately going to get that leap follow-up here. Ballistics trying to capitalize on JPL so very low. He throws down the Eldruin, but they cut off a route. Magi tracking him down there, but you know, sadly with those triple auto attacks, they sound pretty neat, but they don't do too much damage.
SCSC is still going for this chase. Oh, not getting that. Instead, will set his sights on Wubby, who gets taken out as he was hoping to come down. JPL lives, and with all of the distraction, with the insane dives made possible here for Ballistics, thanks to that new Barak and the Punisher nearly takes out the fort in the mid.
And you know, that was something that, watching the last series, hold up though, Snitch doesn't have a Swift Strike, or I feel like he would have...
Whoa.
Is that guy seriously have that level of patience? That was ridiculous.
Amazing. Showing you why he could be MVP on multiple heroes, not just Tassadar.
I know, but I just feel so bad if I have to listen to Snitch talk about being an MVP one more time. Tassadar or Genji, doesn't matter.
He wouldn't have to there, because we'd go straight into the next game, hopefully. So at least you only have to deal with that once. SCSC, his point comes in. That's what happens when Li Ming hits 7 and gets Calamity. Dignitas find their first kill.
Finding themselves SC's Zeratul, even though the early game success they had over the Dragon Knight phase in that skirmish, I didn't necessarily feel like that we would see Ballistics find that control over the very first Shrine phase. But it's a very different tale for both teams in their team fight. It's actually really kind of interesting, because when we often see compositions, we go, well, when 10 hits, this team actually wants to fight later on, right? And right now, with how successful Ballistics was in that skirmish and how impactful everyone's heroics and how diverse they are in the strategy of the team fight itself, I feel like I look at the 10s and I just go, whoever plays it better. I don't give one team a major upper hand. Kind of the beauty, I guess, there of the Zeratul versus Tyrael problem. It's maybe not really a problem. It's awesome, whatever it is.
Awesome. I'm really excited to get to those heroic abilities. It is... We talked earlier about Tyrael and how basically every single international event, sans this most recent BlizzCon, he starts popping up more and more as the tournament meta develops. But Zeratul tends to do that too, but not quite as much more recently. But like I said, at the first Eastern Clash, where Tyrael was, so too was Zeratul. And Ballistics are going back to this old school style of counter strategy because of the depth of the hero pools that they have and the amount of time that players like SC have been in the game.
Team Dignitas did have a pretty cool transition up towards that top lane by picking up that Shaman Camp and pressuring out, but it comes at a cost here with this Shrine phase down below. Both teams pick up their heroics. Nothing too surprising there. We are going to see the Disintegrate versus the Wave of Force, but when you keep in mind that there's a Cocoon in the hands of Ballistics, it very much makes sense.
That's necessary. March the Black King for Wubby instead of Entomb, but we've seen a lot more March the Black King. This is just sharking.
Whenever you see that reflecting, just little shimmer of light in those situations, you got to feel like second-guessing your confidence in anything there, even though Hesse didn't reveal himself, and you maybe see the Greymane to Hawkeye on the other parts of the map, you just kind of go, does he see something I don't in this situation? But Ballistics with the Punisher that Dignitas gave up with that Shrine control up towards the top half of the map here, gave up their Shrine control with that Shaman Camp pressure that they had towards top here, but Ballistics didn't gain anything with it. What I was talking about a little bit earlier, hinting towards, is that when we were watching the Fnatic versus KSV, when we talk about Infernal Shrines, the European teams are willing to be a bit more passive. And it feels like normally you can't get away with that because the Korean teams, though we normally look as Infernal Shrines as one of the longest average game times, just flat out period, they get so much more out of each and every Punisher.
But that's also kind of a KSV versus Ballistics dilemma, right? KSV is without a doubt the most aggressive of the two. Does Ballistics realize and recognize that they need to be more aggressive than maybe they're comfortable with? Now they have heroic abilities. Now it should be a different tale.
They still have a little bit of damage left on that middle fort that they can easily pick up here. Once Dignitas captures this bottom camp, it will be a heavy indicator that it's pretty much easy pickings there.
Now send Zeratul up with the Khazra, take out that fort in the mid, and start to get a structural advantage for Ballistics, even having Magi and Hooligan to force the rotations the safe way just to make sure that SCSC can take out that fort.
I don't see a major talent advantage. Hold on, though, Wubby. He's going to have to Wraith Walk, but he has the silence there after that isolation. Even if he does end up getting it after that drag, you know there would have been an immediate Vorpal follow-up there. 13 talents here for Ballistics, and we're 10 seconds out from the next Punisher phase. And Wubby's not going to be back into this world for at least about 10 seconds.
This does set up for Ballistics to go a little bit faster, but really they just want to get a little more aggressive, stealing away the camp from Team Dignitas and slowing Dig from getting to that shrine, which has been started. Wubby will spawn right back up here, making this a 2v2 as the damage is severe enough to force Snitch to jump away. Here comes the rest of Ballistics, though, trying to catch him after he cyber agilities there.
A lot of damage onto Wubby. He does march to the Black King,
wow.
but that is a flat old whiff there. Each swing going through, not landing onto anything, and he is going to drop. Snitch goes in, does so much damage onto SC. He goes back in with that Seeker in the Dark, teleports out, gets himself the Sound Barrier. They keep themselves alive, but Wubby is draining that life in that Ghost form. He's going to be back here in about 8 seconds, and Ballistics does not have enough skeletal defender advantage to really force this fight any further. They do have the Void, but we're yet to see that interaction with the Sanctification, and now the collapse.
The Hunter became the Hunted. I was sure that SC was going to go down to Snitch. He was diving in now. There's the Sanctification and
the Void.
The Dragon Blade, but the Void on the other side. Still, Jungha is the first one to fall from this fight.
That's going to be first reset. Snitch throwing out more Dragon Blades there, but they're going to retreat back to these Skeletal Defenders, find themselves their first Punisher of this game. Wow, that team fight so well done from Ballistics, but even that of Dignitas, even more so on Dignitas, to have that kind of response after they were so very offensive and aggressive. Cannot believe it.
I think the best thing for Team Dignitas is how early they forced that Sound Barrier. That was huge. They didn't have Sound Barrier after the Void Prison to get through the rest of the Dragon Blade from that. And the Dignitas choice of getting Uther, so even with the Sanctification, if it is nulled by the Void Prison, then they still have a way of enabling the Genji.
Punisher online. Fort front wall still available, so it's not going to be an easy follow-up there onto that Punisher leap over the wall. Bit of free damage. It's going to fall below 50% more, faster than maybe, you know, Dignitas would have liked to see here. With the double reset composition, they're not known for their siege capabilities. Wubby takes a bit of damage. 3-man Punisher, nobody there for the follow-up yet.
Magi
drops the Sound Barrier.
Poik now being harassed by SC. Cocoon comes out. Ballistics are ready to try to take this fight if they can.
15 seconds till Void Prison. There's about a 3-second difference between Sanctification and Void, and it's in favor of the Void Prison. March of the Black King there used for Wubby, and another great kite around to make sure it gains no health value there for him, and he's going to go back to Ghost form.
At the very least, though, that is Leoric. He comes back faster with Undying. He's the one to lose if Team Dignitas need to make a sacrifice for a hasty escape. So they get out. SCSC's harassment on Poik there was enough to force some chaos for Team Dignitas, and Ballistics capitalized getting that kill on Wubby. But the avoiding of March of the Black Kings for Ballistics has been insanity. That one that was so concerted in a choke, no less.
Yeah, and I feel like if you look at all the March of the Black Kings that we've had in this tournament, you know, more often than not, it feels like they're kind of lackluster, unless it's Wubby.
Exactly.
And so that is why I want to give way more credit to Ballistics and their positioning than that of maybe, you know, a bad March of the Black King. Wubby has always very much been on point and always making sure that he's hitting multiple targets and baiting enough damage to where even if he goes down, the trade is in favor of his team. But Ballistics here, playing around it so well that it's not even close.
Yeah, there's a reason why Wubby's Leoric is undefeated, one of the few undefeated heroes for Team Dignitas, with a larger sample size given the amount of games. But so far, Ballistics have it figured out. We'll see if that continues to be the same. Ballistics have 16, which gives them a lot more healing. There was a slight nerf on Rejuvenescencia, but it's still there now to give the additional healing for Ballistics.
Holy Ground on this top shrine in particular, though, is a very big power spike for Team Dignitas. It doesn't mean that they win the fight inevitably, but what might be a difficult team fight to force, considering that Uther or Tyrael are your only setup. I mean, March of the Black King, as we have seen through this game, is not setting things up proper. But trying to retreat into those chokeholds, it is so easy for JPL to throw down the Eldruin and just say, if you want to pass through here, it is very easy for us to find ourselves that kill.
Yeah, that issue is actually why I thought maybe we would see an Entomb from Wubby.
Vorpal over. He's going to get the whole track down. Being there with the damage. The Void?
Oh.
No way. They're going to drop in and get the kill with the Divine Shield.
Keeps him alive. He's going straight into Dragon Blade. Using the mobility. Gets out. Cocoon's been used. Poik, though, still in danger. He goes down. Isolation there, too. Ballistics picking apart the team fight of Dignitas as SC has found the Genji at the end.
He is an actual god. Wubby comes back to try and make something happen here. He does get the reveal to teleport away. Magi tanking the turn. Sound Barrier drops in the drag. The boop. JPL is not up for this world after. No, he gets the Sanctification.
Sanctification's there, but Jungha's sticking to him like glue. So is Magi, and they bring down Tyrael.
That was absolutely ridiculous. SC, I questioned the Zeratul pick, but never again after that one.
What a fight. Ballistics wipe Team Dignitas. And now they can be content to take out this fort well ahead of the shrine being taken as SDE gets the rest of the Skeletal Defenders.
I mean, in Team Dignitas' position at this point in time, if that was not a big enough disadvantage when it comes to just flat-out experience, it has got to be on mentality. Such well played from both sides, though. I mean, though Ballistics was the team that came out on top there, Dignitas did so many things very right as well. That was just best team fight I've seen in a hot minute here, Gilly.
That was an incredible team fight.
That would be, all right, here we go. We're back online. Sorry, my monitor disappeared for a moment there, ladies and gentlemen.
We are all fine. Ballistics are still holding on to that shrine, trying to get some counter pressure in other areas, and because Team Dignitas weren't close enough in Skeletal Defenders to make this scary for Ballistics to go in and take that, this is looking like a pretty terrifying push for Ballistics. They can get camps in multiple areas as long as they don't lose anybody.
It's one of those situations where it's up to Team Dignitas to really force the hand, and even though it's not going to work out. Yeah, it's kind of one of those, I know it's never going to work out, but the only time I can try and force a fight pre-20 might be over this and just trying to get to the 39 threshold, make Ballistics capture one for themselves. Eventually, Hooligan's going to go ahead and use those Beetles, and 20 talents here is only seconds away. That is a huge power spike for Ballistics, not only because of 20 talents here, but more importantly, Zeratul has, I mean, he goes from a great hero to a near unstoppable, especially when you look at what SC's already been able to make happen pre-20 in this game.
Yeah, the one-shot capabilities go through the roof with Rewind, as well as Sentence to Death at 16. As Ballistics go through for what they hope is the end of Game 3 going in their favor. They also have Contagion, another brilliant way of being able to stop anything that might be coming their way from Team Dignitas.
Wubby baiting a bit of aggro on the backline there out of SDE. He's going to go ahead and throw the Cursed Bullet. Cocoon already revealed and removed thanks to Poik. Punisher going to go ahead and move up forward. Does Ballistics follow it up here?
It's pretty low in health. Ballistics don't have anything past that, except a few minions. They're going to get back. The best thing for them is that they do have 20, but they still have time to rotate around. They used the mercenary camp in the bottom for as long as they could to get some pressure there. They can rotate straight through to the mid and start applying damage to those towers.
Dignitas cannot defend this as easily as they would like just because of that kill potential SC is going to provide now that he does have that rewind. The composition that they do have is not necessarily the best at sieging, but by no means is it poor. And we were talking about the isolation focus of this comp. Isolation comps are very good at sieging because it's hard to be able to defend. It makes you have a positional disadvantage, which gives isolation comps a huge advantage if they didn't have it before. and Ballistics is looking to try and flaunt that. Holy Ground split from JPL, but it's only going to be SC as he teleports over.
Yeah, he uses the blink to get back over. Snitch diving in. Team Dignitas feel force contagion hits so many people. The silence in the backline. Leorix is just gone. Void Prison in the back isolates another member. Team Dignitas lose both warriors in the front line.
Nice rewind double knock up there from Hooligan to make sure no sanctification is available. SC is going to get the track down. 4 members of Dig are now dead. Zalia, the last man standing, but it is just a poor Uther. Maybe not touching the armor department, but it does not matter. Doesn't have the tools to stop this, and Ballistics is going to go ahead and take this game on Infernal Shrines, and more importantly, pull ahead over Dig 2-1.
Ballistics proves that they have the drafting chops to outdraft their opponents, bringing back the Zeratul again as a counter in a different way, a different scenario than when they used it versus SPT, but still just as potent. What amazes me is that SCSC is not a melee assassin player generally. He used to be, right?
Yeah.
But I would not look at Zeratul as a hero that you just pick up when not having a ton of practice
just
with
casually.
it and be able to play at the level that he plays it. And yet every single time he does this, I am blown away.
I completely agree with you. I will say I think that is a tendency that exists only within Korean Zeratul players. Because I said the exact same thing. I want to say it was not necessarily MSB, but maybe the Eastern Clash right before that, where you get that absolutely still to the same. I feel like the best Zeratul play I've ever seen out of on Battlefield of Eternity with Rich in particular. Wasn't flexing that much Zeratul, I feel like, up until that point. Was comfortable going into it, and then suddenly goes, here's my Seeker in the Dark, rewind, double juke onto hard crowd control. I just kill a guy 100-0 out of nowhere. And it seems like only within that region they're just willing to be like, oh yeah, remember, we still have amazing Zeratul opportunities if we just kind of want to.
Yeah, but Dread, that's Rich's role. That's not even SC's role.
You are right. I think I have a skewed perception because, like, when I played against SC, that was his role, right? I knew him as the Zeratul guy. Like, I was like, this is the dude we have to stop. We have to focus around that. So
but the rework has come in for Zeratul since that time that it was his role, right?
I mean, yes, it has. There was no Seeker in the Dark way back. He was the Grim Task Q build, which is legitimately, I feel like, not even an option at this point in time. So yeah, it's a very different Zeratul even beyond that. I mean, it just feels like Zeratul's in his blood at this point.
Amazing. I will eat my hat that I don't have if SC is not the MVP.
I will pay money to watch you eat your hat. Even okay, well, we're good. We're good. The hats, all hats are safe. Everyone, calm down.
Don't worry. People in production starting to put their hats away. Like, wait a second.
Yeah, this girl's crazy.
What hat is she gonna eat? That makes no sense. The man, the myth, the legend, SCSC flexes over. We've seen his Tyrael, we've seen his Zeratul, we've seen a secondary support, and we've seen a lot of ranged assassins.
In SC we trust. That's where I am at this point. I have zero doubt. Gilly, go ahead and ask me what map or if there's any situation where I have down in Ballistics. Because the answer is no. I don't after that last game.
You guys can't see him, but he just, like, put away his tablet. He, like, folded up his notebook. He just pretty much was like, well, I wash my hands of this situation.
Yep.
It's figured out.
It was with Dignitas blood, you know, with Zeratul for SC the last game. Okay.
So where do we go?
Zeratul side. What is the strat now? Knowing Dignitas loses this game, expecting to go with the first pick as we saw them do last time?
Do they?
Or do they mix it up now?
That time was understandable, right? It's like, we've only lost one game so far. Maybe we switch things up, make sure we're still getting first pick. Now is more telling of where they believe the true power lies, if they feel like they need to switch it up because they are that unfavored.
We're about to find out.